chunky boy. So one of the coolest things about being a TikTok creator with a relatively large audience is that often you guys will reach out to me through Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok in order to ask me questions. And the question that I get most often of all is, as a cybersecurity professional, what sort of gear do I carry with me on a daily basis? So let's take a look at my EDC, starting with the things in my pockets. Now the first thing that we have is going to be a knife. I will often rotate between this Tiger Chinese switchblade and this Spyderco knife. To be honest, I like the Spyderco more, but this takes up less space in my pocket, and because it's the same pocket that I have my phone in, I often go with the Tiger. Now my phone, which isn't in the video because it's what this is being filmed on, is a OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren Edition, which I firmly believe is one of the sexiest phones ever made. After that, I have my wallet, including this awesome HP Lovecraft coin that my girlfriend got me that says yes and no on one side and the other. And then after that, we also have my multi-tool, which is the Leatherman Wave. I actually bought this on the recommendation of Adam Savage, as it's the multi-tool that he carries, and I have to be honest, this is the best multi-tool that has ever been manufactured, especially because of this screwdriver bit. It is Phillips head on one side and standard on the other, and I love it because, and I don't understand how this works, the Phillips side will fit literally any screw. I think it's because it's actually kind of rectangular shaped and it's not as wide as it is tall, but it fits every screw. I love it, and I use it on a daily basis all the time in the data center. Now, moving forward from that, we have my pair of Bluetooth headphones. I used to carry AirPods. So this is the case from the Gen 2 AirPods. Then I had the AirPods Pro. I didn't like those as much, so I switched back to these, and now I lost these. So unfortunately, I'm not carrying that anymore, but I have recently bought the OnePlus Buds, as they are cheaper and seem to be around the same quality. So moving forward, I'll be carrying those. Now, onto the watch that I have. I have a pretty large collection of watches that I rotate between, but currently I have been switching back and forth between the Invicta Speedway chronograph, which is an homage to the Rolex Daytona, and this smartwatch, which is, I believe, the Moto 360, I think. I actually don't remember. It is running a custom Linux image, though, which I like the memory of having Linux run on my watch, but it's a very good smartwatch, and I put this leather band in it. Normally it comes with the metal. This one I don't carry in my pockets all the time, but it is on me most of the time, and it is the Canon AE1 35mm SLR. I love this camera. I've been getting back into film photography recently, so I've been trying to bring this with me everywhere I go. This is the black and stainless edition, and it has a 50mm 1.4 lens on there. As far as the film that I use, I do rotate through a couple of stocks, but the one that I use most often is the classic Portra 400 because you just can't beat the warm colors. Plus, it overexposes really well. And last but not least, we have the Ray-Ban Clubmasters, which is my favorite pair of sunglasses. Now, as for the bulk of my EDC, that's where we come to the backpack. And much like a purse, I have this with me pretty much everywhere I go. I cannot think of a time within the last couple of years where I left the house without this backpack, and that's pretty much it. I carry it with me all of the time. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through it pocket by pocket, starting at the front. This front pocket doesn't have anything in it because it's broken, and I'm too lazy to fix it. First of all, the backpack is made by a company called Ogio. I don't have the specific model, but there will be a link to it on Amazon in the comments down below, or in the description of the video, rather. Now, in this first pocket, I have a couple of basic things, the first of which is what I call the Doomsday Database. This is actually a 4 terabyte solid state drive in a little enclosure that is basically a backup of all of my favorite music, movies, and TV shows, as well as common resources that I use, like various tools that I could get to without having to have internet, as well as a bunch of different ISO images for different OSs. Now, moving on, we also have my old OnePlus phone. This is a rooted OnePlus 6T that is actually not broken. I thought this one was broken, with the original carbon case on it. I keep this as kind of like a pocket server because it has a self-contained battery, it does mobile hotspotting, and because it's rooted, I can run pretty much any Linux tools that I need to run on here, and it's basically a pocket server. Moving on from there, we have this awesome little, I believe it is called the, is it TS100 soldering iron. Now this thing is dope. It's a very compact soldering iron that is either run off of a wall plug like this, or there's another adapter that you can get where you can actually run this off a common drone battery. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those with me, but in a pinch, it's very easy for soldering, for different hardware hacking or building purposes, as well as normally I have some tinned solder in my pack. However, I don't have that with me at the moment because I've recently run out. And I think that's all for this pack. Yep. All right, now moving down into the next compartment, I have right off the bat, a multicolored pen, your standard Bic model, and then also a standard black whiteboard marker. I actually have this because I have found anywhere there is a window, there's a whiteboard, and it's really good to be able to plan out different things. And whether you're in a coffee shop or an airport or an office building, it's nice to be able to pop a whiteboard next to you. In addition to that, I have this Anker PowerCore Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 battery. This thing is definitely starting to see its age, but it does have quite the capacity on it. I'm trying to remember exactly how much it has. Yep, that is completely faded off the bottom. There will also be a link to this on Amazon, but it's a fantastic battery and it's very meaty. And then below that, I have my pocket journal, including this awesome bullet pen that my girlfriend got me for my 22nd birthday. I absolutely love the way that it looks, and it has a quick release there, the little rifle on it to match the bag. This is just something where I can, plot out notes or figure out quick problems, things like that. Always good to have a notebook. Now, moving on from there, I believe that is all for this bag. Yep. Oh yeah, these are some accessories for the oscilloscope you'll see down below. Moving on, I'm actually going to come back to this compartment since that's the main one. In this top pouch here, which I believe is intended to actually be a sunglass pouch, I have two things. This is a expandable Ethernet cable. I can't tell you how many times I have needed a quick Ethernet cable, whether it's to run a LAN tap or just jack into a network, and this thing has saved my ass about 1,000,000 times. One thing that I would change if I were buying this gear now is that because this is flat and it's not shielded twisted pair, sometimes if I am using this in the vicinity of my SDR, I will see some electromagnetic interference from it. So if you can find one of these that's in a shielded twisted pair version, I would recommend going with that, even if it is a little bit bigger. Now, moving on from there, I have the Logitech MX Master Mouse. I am firmly of the belief that this is the best mouse that has or will ever be made. I have very large hands, and this mouse just fits my hand perfectly. It has both a multi-scroll wheel here, meaning that when it's turned on, you have clicks if you scroll slow, or it moves into this kind of linear actuation where, oh, come on, is it dead? Oh, there you go. So you'll notice no more clicks if you scroll fast. It'll continue to scroll, so getting through a long web page is very easy. It also has side scroll, forward and back buttons, and the buttons on it are very tactile and clicky. Big like. All right. And I believe last but not least regarding the main pouch, oh yeah, I do have here, these buckles come off the side, and then down in here I have an iPad Pro. I'm not specifically sure which model this is. I don't keep too up to date on the Apple products, but it is got the Bluetooth Apple Pencil. It works kind of well as a mobile whiteboard, and there's a couple applications I do like for it, but to be honest, I don't really use it that much, and it's the one thing in my kit that I could probably forget and not really miss. But this is one of my absolute favorite tools in my bag. It is the HUNTER Pocket Oscilloscope coupled with all of its various leads. This tool is quite literally invaluable to me. I use it pretty much every day, and it really, really helps to solve different problems. It is a completely self-contained battery-powered oscilloscope that can hook up to this probe here. And basically, if you don't know what an oscilloscope is, you can attach this to different leads in an electrical circuit or device, and you can look at the fluctuations in power as a function of time to look at the logic that that circuit might be performing. It is not a logic analyzer, but does provide a lot of interesting information about electrical circuits, and also it doubles as a multimeter. So I can put it into this mode, attach the black and red leads here into one of these different ports, and then I can measure different voltages, currents, resistance, things like that. When you're working with hardware electronics, this thing is literally a lifesaver, and it was a fantastic Christmas present from my parents. Moving on, last but not least, except for the main pouch, is my laptop. My laptop is a Dell 15-inch XPS. I do love this laptop. It's got the kind of carbon fiber here, very clicky keyboard, and currently the laptop is running with a triple boot of Ubuntu 20.04, Parrot OS, which is actually I've been using as opposed to Kali Linux because I prefer its tool set, and it's a little bit nicer looking than Kali is, and also we have Windows 10. Now, this main compartment in my backpack houses these 4 packs, each of which contain the gear that I use most often, as well as my laptop charger. We're going to save this one for last because this is by far the coolest one as it contains all of my hacking gadgets. But first, let's take a look at these 3. Starting here, this is a box that contains my WH-1000 MX3 Sony Bluetooth headphones. These were a wonderful birthday gift from my girlfriend, much like the pen. These are hands down the best Bluetooth headphones I have ever seen. You can run inline aux with them, which is very nice. They charge through USB-C insanely quickly. I think you get like, I believe you get 5 hours of listening time off just 10 minutes of charging. They're NFC tap to pair. They fold. The sound quality is amazing on them. They're very comfortable, and I also think that they are relatively stylish. So I like them a lot. Plus, active noise cancellation, which is good enough that I actually have worn these in the data center before, and they've cut a lot of the noise out for me. So if you are looking for a good pair of Bluetooth headphones, I cannot recommend these ones highly enough. We'll tuck those away. Now, next up is my iFixit kit. This is kind of my get into anything bag. It has all of the tools that I need to disassemble pretty much any electronic device, including plastic pry bars, suction cups for screen removal, and ESD wrist things so I can ground myself and not statically shock a system. You can actually buy this. There will be links to all the items that I show here down in the description of the video, but there is one change which I have made to this bag, which is the addition of a set of surgical stainless steel hemostats. I found these do come in handy for a number of things, whether it be weighting something down or clamping off a hose. They definitely help, so that is their intended purpose. And that is it for the iFixit kit, pretty standard. These are very common amongst technicians and a great way to get into things because that multi-driver pouch does have all of the security torque, so it makes it very easy to get into electrical devices. And this is my bag O lockpicks. I have not really all of my lockpicking gear in here, but everything that I could feasibly need relatively quickly. Come on. That is not cooperating with me. There we go. All right. In here, I have a set of tubular lockpicks. These things are awesome for like those tube-style cabinet lockpicks, or sometimes you see them on tool chests and stuff. You basically just barrow the lead like this, run them up against a flat surface. You can adjust the tension with the bands, and then you pretty much just push them into the lock and twist, and then they will snap it open. It makes picking tube locks very easy and is quite beneficial. I have all the tools for those in there. Moving forward from that, I do have a Southern lockpick, as well as a couple of bump keys that I keep on the outside here for common slage locks and quickset as well. Pretty standard assortment of tools here. I do have one heavy bit handle with an Allen key that I can throw multiple different picks in. They'll take any of the standard Southern style picks. Gives me a little bit more weight. I like it. And then in this pouch here, I have some green O-rings that go on the bump keys to automatically reset them. And that overall is actually a nice quality of life feature for the bump keys. Now, if I'm not feeling particularly lock-picky today, or I happen to be more inebriated than normal, DEF CON, that's why I have this pick gun. You can buy these for pretty much nothing on eBay, Amazon, or Alibaba, and the basic idea of this is that you put a pick lead in here, and you push this handle, and it goes, and it just slaps the keys up, and you just do that with a tension wrench until the lock turns. It doesn't work on everything, but when it works, it is insanely easy and can save you a lot of time, though it isn't the most discreet method because it does make a hell of a lot of noise. And last but not least, let us move on to the Hack 5 bag. This is definitely the one thing in the pack that I would be the most devastated if I lost. I originally got this bag at my first DEF CON 24, where I bought some of the gear in this bag, and I've spent the better part of the last 4 years shoving more gear into it. So, starting at the most outward level here, I do have a little DEF CON notebook that I got at DEF CON 27 that has some paper in it. To be honest, I keep forgetting this is in here, so I've never actually used it, but it's kind of another notebook if I need it. Then moving down into the first level, we begin to see all of the hacking goodies that are in here. So starting with this pouch, I have a micro USB cable here, as well as a USB-B to USB-C cable. That is for the Anchor multi-USB hub, as well as an Ethernet adapter, because unfortunately I don't have a full-size Ethernet on my laptop. I also have 128 gig SanDisk USB here, just for general USB things. This Hot Wheels car, which is actually my good luck charm, gift from my parents. There's a whole story with that, but we won't bore you with it. This is an Anchor USB-C to USB-A adapter. I do have full-size USB-A ports, but for a period of time I was carrying the MacBook Pro, which was all USB-C. I'm so glad I don't have that laptop anymore. In here, I also have a series of 4 boot disks. These come in handy all of the time. The P is for Parrot OS. The W is for He Who Shall Not Be Named Windows. Then I also have Kali OS there. And last but not least, Ubuntu 20.04. I make sure to update all of these images as frequently as possible so they are always up to date and with the latest security benefits. We've got a couple of MISC adapters here that just adapt between various types of USB devices, which can come in handy, to be honest. I don't use them that much, but I have thrown them in there. And then I do have 4 antennas in here for the Wi-Fi Pineapple that you will see in the rear of this pack. I will set those aside so that we can put them on. And last but not least, I do have a graphite lead pencil. These are really nice. An artist friend of mine gave this to me, and it does come in handy. It's the Pacific Arc H1305. Great pencil, though generally I prefer pens. Now, starting over here for the gear, this is where it really starts to get interesting. First things first is the Hack 5 Bash Bunny. You're going to notice a theme here. A lot of these are Hack 5 kit. They just sell amazing tools, and every time they come out with one, I basically have to get it because they really expand my capabilities. The Bash Bunny is essentially a fully compatible Linux computer that can run any type of bash script as well as emulate a bunch of devices when plugged into USB. And all of the things that you're going to see here, well, basically all of the Hack 5 gear, can hook up to Cloud C2, and I'll explain that in the end. Moving on, we have the Hack 5 Key Croc. This is actually a hardware keylogger, and it is incredibly capable. Unlike normal keyloggers, where you plug them in line between a keyboard and a computer, and then they just write one massive file to an SD card that you have to come back and manually get, this can do a ton of smart recording as well as impersonating an HID, which is a human interface device, in order to inject keystrokes and things like that. So basically, when I plug this into a computer with a keyboard on the other end, it will pretend to be the keyboard, it will record all keystrokes from that keyboard, log specific ones that match regex patterns, do a ton of smart stuff, and using Cloud C2, I can even inject keystrokes wirelessly through here, so long as it is connected to the internet. Next up, we have the Proxmark V3 Easy, as well as a couple of RFID-enabled cards here. This is really, really useful for taking RFID access cards, like you see in a lot of tech businesses, cloning them onto different cards like this, and it allows me to get through different bypass restriction systems or access-controlled systems. So that's very useful, though unfortunately it doesn't see too much use. Here we have two of what I will argue are probably the most famous of the Hack 5 gadgets. These are the infamous USB rubber duckies. They look like a generic USB that you could get from pretty much anywhere. For example, it is very common, sorry Newt, for companies to give out, like for example, Staples EasyTech uses little USBs like this, but the USB rubber ducky is indeed more than it appears to be, because if we take a look under the hood here, and I did make a video on this on my TikTok channel, but if we pry the casing open, you can see that 'tis not a USB, 'tis actually a micro SD card enabled human interface device controller, which means that you can write scripts on here in a language called Ducky script, drop a bunch of these into a parking lot like Mr. Robot, and then somebody will come by, be fatally curious, plug this into their workstation, and it'll run whatever exploit you have currently on it by basically being able to do anything that you could do were you sitting in front of the keyboard. Moving on from there, we have the LAN Turtle. I love this thing. Great way of getting shells. It is basically a USB Ethernet adapter that can sit in line and do a bunch of man-in-the-middle attacks. Very useful piece of kit. This here is the Hack 5 Packet Squirrel, another new addition to my pack. It is actually a USB-C powered LAN tap. So you can plug this in line between an Ethernet cable on either side, and then you can intercept packets on it without actually interrupting the traffic flow, or modify packets on the fly using Wireshark and a couple of different scripts. So a good example of how you might use something like this is if you were able to find a security camera that has an Ethernet connection for sharing its video and it is unencrypted. I can put this in the middle of that Ethernet line and grab whatever video or pictures it is sharing over the network directly from here, save them to a device, and then just bail out when it's done. This is the Hack 5 Shark Jack. It is an awesome little piece of kit. It essentially runs a series of automated Nmap payloads whenever it's plugged into an RJ45 jack. And it is battery powered, so it doesn't need PoE. You can select between its different modes here, and it is, of course, powered by USB-C, because Hack 5 understands that USB-C is the future. I've got a couple of other MISC things in here, different adapters, another RFID token, and a bunch of SD cards, but we can skip past all of that since that's not really interesting. And moving to the back of the pack, we see some more of the goodies. Starting here, this is actually a Raspberry Pi Zero W in a case. It's always convenient to have a little computer like this on you. A lot of the times I will have it run Linux, but it's perfect as another pocket server if I don't have the Android phone on me. And you can leave one of these on a client location and do a lot of damage with it. Next up is the Hack5 Screen Crab, another really cool piece of kit from Hack5. The Screen Crab basically sits in line for an HDMI connection. So you would plug the input of HDMI in here and the output of the HDMI in here, and it would look normal to the person using the computer, but this little device would take that HDMI signal and make it available through the internet to me so that I can drop one of these on a client site, go home, and then using Cloud C2, which is their cloud platform, I will be able to essentially look at this video feed, take pictures and videos whenever I want, and there's a lot of interesting applications for this, though as of yet I haven't had a way to deploy this on a client site, so we'll see what happens with that. Moving forward, we have two different Wi-Fi pineapples. This one here is the Wi-Fi Pineapple Nano. This is the one I most often will use with my Android phones. In fact, oftentimes I will use this along with the OnePlus 6T that I showed you guys earlier in order to control it through there. So this is a good mobile setup. Or if I'm trying to do some more serious Wi-Fi interception, that is where the Wi-Fi Pineapple Tetra comes in. This is the first Hack5 gear I ever bought, was the Tetra in this pack. And it was so graciously signed by Darren Kitchen and Snubs of Hack5 fame. If you're into the hacking scene and you don't know who they are, please reassess your life and go check them out, because they are definitely the coolest channel in cybersecurity on YouTube. You get these crazy antennas on here. A lot of you guys might have seen this in an episode of Silicon Valley where they used the Wi-Fi pineapples to force people to sign up for their app, and they had to chase them around the convention center. But 'tis a real thing, not just Hollywood glory, and it's a very cool device that does... it's what they call a rogue AP. So basically, you can force devices to connect to this as opposed to a normal network, pass the internet through so it looks normal to the client, and then you can interfere with a bunch of packets on it. But it's a good source of Wi-Fi auditing. Unfortunately, as time has gone on and HTTPS and better internet encryptions have popped up, it has limited the use of it, but I do still carry it because every once in a while you find a really good use case for it. I have the cable for that. And lastly, I think this is the last thing in the pack that I have to show you guys, is one of my favorite tools. This is the HackRF1, which is, in my opinion, the best SDR tool that you can buy. I have some of the RTL SDR dongles that you can buy for $20, and they're great, but all they can do is reception. This device here can do both reception and broadcast on a very wide array of signals. I think up to I want to say 6 gigahertz. I'll put the actual thing on screen now. But this has a myriad of very useful exploits that you can perform with it. Just to give you an example of one, if you look up the public FCC information about a wireless key fob, like for example this that you use to open a car, you can actually record the opening signal with this tool, jam it so that it doesn't go to the car, and then later replay that attack so that you are able to essentially unlock the car without the keys, as well as opening garage doors or interfering with any number of radio signals. I particularly like this device because, in my opinion, the radio frequency is, at least currently, one of the least secure layers in any sort of infrastructure. You can't really see it, so a lot of people don't think about protecting it, but there have been certain implementations over the last couple of years that have made it slightly more secure, but overall, there's still a lot of vulnerability there. So if you don't have an SDR, I highly recommend that you pick one up. Well, that is pretty much everything in my pack. As you can see, it is almost an entire counter's worth, cat notwithstanding. But that is the gear that I carry with me every day. Is it overkill? Yeah, it's overkill. And do I use all of it every day? No, I don't. But I like carrying it with me because you never know when you're going to need it. And whether I bring it with me to a client gig or just in daily use, I often find uses for these tools that they were never designed for that I just find genuinely useful. For example, if you combine the Key Croc with the Screen Crab, what you basically have is a hardware equivalent to TeamViewer that's a lot more secure. So overall, I like carrying the stuff. Last thing that I didn't explain, however, is the Hack5 Cloud C2. The C2 stands for Command and Conquer. It is Hack5's solution essentially for controlling all of the IoT devices that they offer wirelessly. So basically, I have mine set up running on a server in the cloud. All of my devices have config files where they will connect to it automatically, and from there I can administrate them, get loot from them, and control them in any way that I want. including being able to do remote key injection through the key crock, or look at the photos from the screen crab, or control the land turtle or the Wi-Fi pineapples, all from afar, so I don't even have to actually be on site. But that's pretty much everything. I hope you guys found it interesting seeing what I carry on a daily basis, and I'd love to know what you carry, so please feel free to make a video reaction to this, or let me know in the comments what sort of things you think I should add or take away from the pack. Thank you very much. Meow. Oh.